Selo je Bihaća i Bosanske krajine jedan od nesumnjivih ponosa su ove Kreševice. Piloti vazduhoplovci su onaj presudni faktor.
Hello guys and welcome back to another video on my channel. And I'm finally back again. First of all, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I'm sorry for being inactive for so long, but I was quite busy in uni lately. As for today's video, I'll be working on Zvezda's MiG-21bis in 1/72 scale, but with a little twist. I won't be making any of the schemes provided in the kit. I've got myself some custom decals because I want to make one of the MiG-21bises used by Yugoslavia. Now let's start by checking out what's in the box. So, this box has two layers, a top one under which is a carton box containing all the parts for the kit. As for the price, I picked up this kit on a sale, so it was cheaper than the price written on here. It was around 1700 dinars or a little less than $16. Now let me just get all of the stuff out of the box so we can take a proper look. Here are the instructions, the clear parts, decals, a pretty nice stand, and the rest of the plastic parts. Now let's take a proper look at the plastic parts. There are 4 plastic sprues in the box. On this sprue we can see parts for the wings, missile holders, landing gear parts. As you can see, the parts are pretty detailed and with no flash whatsoever, so huge props for that. Now, onto the next sprue. Here we have 2 parts, one for the tail and the other for the top part of the fuselage. And on the third sprue there are fuselage halves, missiles, cockpit parts and other bits and pieces. Once again, there is no flash whatsoever. And on the last sprue there are some more missiles, drop tank parts, landing gear legs, wheels and etc. Now let's take a look at the clear parts, after I take them out of this bag. And here they are, pretty detailed, no flash here as well. Shouldn't be too hard to mask, hopefully. Now, since this bag is already here, let's now properly check out the decals. The print is nice, they don't seem too thick, and there are 3 versions included, though as I've said before, I won't be using this for this build. Now let me put this back in the box and finally check out the instructions. And here they are. They are in black and white. Honestly, the paper used in the print is just slightly better than that used for the newspapers. As for what's on the first page, we can see some basic information about the MiG-21. On the second page we can see the first 10 steps of the assembly of the cockpit, engine, fuel switch halves, some extra details, wings, more details and canopy. we can see steps 11 through 16. There are two options to choose from, with either lowered or raised landing gear legs. And on the third and the last page of the assembly, we can see more landing gear assemblies as well as the assemblies for the missiles and other weapons. After all of that, we can see a little scheme of all the parts included, as well as the color callouts with, of course, all of the color schemes featured with the decal placement guide. And that would be it for the instructions. Now let's check out the decals I'll actually be using. So these decals were made by a company called Lift Here. They come with these decal placement instructions. They seem pretty good, to be honest. As for what MiG-21bis I'll be making, I'll be probably making the one with the number 227 or 209. I'll see later on. As for the decals themselves, here they are. The print is good, and the ones in the same schemes are close together. It's a shame these aren't manufactured anymore, as far as I know. Now let's take a look at the history of the MiG-21 aircraft. The MiG-21 jet fighter was a continuation of Soviet jet fighters, starting with the subsonic MiG-15 and MiG-17 and the supersonic MiG-19. A number of experimental Mach 2 Soviet designs were based on nose intakes with either swept-back wings, such as the Sukhoi Su-7, or tailed deltas, of which the MiG-21 would be the most successful. Development of the MiG-21 began in the early 1950s, when a preliminary design study was finished for a prototype designed by Yi-1 in 1954. The project was very quickly reworked when it was determined that the planned engine was underpowered. The redesign led to the second prototype, the Yi-2. Both these and the other early prototypes featured swept wings. The first prototype with the delta wings found on the production variants was the Yi-4. It made its maiden flight on the 16th of June 1955 and its first public appearance during the Soviet Aviation Day display at the Moscow's Tushino airfield in July 1956. The MiG-21 was the first successful Soviet aircraft combining fighter and interceptor characteristics in a single aircraft. It was a lightweight fighter achieving Mach 2 with a relatively low-powered afterburning turbojet and is thus comparable to the American Lockheed F-104 Starfighter and the Northrop F-5 Freedom Fighter and the French Dassault Mirage 3. Its basic layout was used for numerous other Soviet designs. Delta wing aircraft included the Su-9 Interceptor and the fast E-150 prototype from the MiG Bureau, while the successful mass-produced frontline fighter Su-7 and Mikoyan's I-75 experimental interceptor combined a similar fuselage shape with swept-back wings. However, the characteristic layout with the shock cone and front air intake did not see widespread use outside the USSR and ultimately proved to have limited development potential, mainly due to the small available space for the radar. The delta wing, while excellent for a fast-climbing interceptor, meant any form of turning combat led to a rapid loss of speed. However, the light loading of the aircraft could mean that a climb rate of 235 meters per second was possible with a combat-loaded MiG-21bis. As for the armament, MiG-21 had a one internal 23mm Gruzaev Shipnuov GSH-23L autocannon with a whopping 200 rounds. It also had 5 hardpoints, 4 underwing and 1 ventral reserved for the fuel drop tanks, with provisions to carry combinations of rockets, either 4 S-24 rockets or 4 UB-1657 rocket pods, with 4 1657mm rockets, or bombs, with either 2 500 kg bombs or 2 250 kg bombs, or air-to-air missiles such as K-13, R-55 or R-60. Yugoslavia purchased its first batch of MiG-21s in 1962 from the Soviet Union. From 1962 to the early 1980s, Yugoslavia purchased a whopping 261 MiG-21s of 10 different variants. There were 41 MiG-21 F-13s, 36 MiG-21 PMFs, 25 MiG-21 Ms, 6 MiG-21 MFs, 46 MiG-21 bises, 45 MiG-21 bis Ks, MiG-21 Rs, 18 MiG-21 Us, 25 MiG-21 UMs, and 7 MiG-21 US. Yugoslav Air Force units that operated MiG-21s were the 204 Fighter Aviation Regiment at the Partizanska Air Base, 126th, 127th, and 128th Fighter Aviation Squadrons, 117th Fighter Aviation Regiment at the Željava Air Base, 124th and 125th Fighter Aviation Squadrons, 352nd Recon Squadron, 83rd Fighter Aviation Regiment at Slatina Air Base, 123rd and 130th Fighter Aviation Squadron, 185th Fighter Bomber Aviation Squadron, of which 129th Fighter Aviation Squadron at Pula and 129th Training Center at Batenica Air Base. During the early stages of the 1990s Yugoslav wars, the Yugoslav military used MiG-21s in a ground attack role, while Croatian and Slovene forces did not yet have air forces at the point in the conflict. Aircraft from air bases in Slovenia, Croatia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina were relocated to air bases in Serbia. Detailed records show at least 7 MiG-21s were shot down by anti-air defenses in Croatia and Bosnia. A MiG-21 piloted by a Serbian Yugoslav Air Force pilot shot down an EC helicopter in 1992. Now, Croatia acquired 3 MiG-21s in 1992 through defections by Croatian pilots serving with the Yugoslav People's Army, 2 of which were lost in subsequent actions. One to the Serbian air defenses, the other a friendly fire incident. In 1993, Croatia purchased about 40 MiG-21s in violation of an arms embargo, but only about 20 of these entered service, while the rest were used for spare parts. Croatia used them alongside the sole remaining defector for ground attack missions in Operations Flash, during which one was lost, and in the Operation Storm. The only air-to-air action for Croatian MiGs was an attempt by 2 of them to intercept a Soko J-22 Oraus of the Republika Srpska's Air Force on a ground attack mission on the 7th of August 1995. After some maneuvering, both sides disengaged without firing. The remaining Yugoslav MiG-29s were flown to Serbia by 1992 and continued their service in the newly created Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. During the 1990 NATO bombing of Yugoslavia, 3 MiG-29s were destroyed on the ground, as you can clearly see just about now. The type continued to serve with the Serbian Air Force until 25th of September 2020, when the country's last active MiG-21 crashed in a village of Brasina near Mali Zvornik, killing both pilots. The aircraft was a MiG-21 UM that left the assembly line in December 1986, which was the last MiG-21 ever produced in the Soviet Union. Soon after, in May of 2021, MiG-21s were officially retired from the Serbian army with honors.
Otvaram svečanost povodom ispraćaja aviona MiG-21.
And that would be it for the history of the aircraft. Now, as always, before starting to work on the model, I wash all the parts in lukewarm soapy water to get rid of any leftover grease from the molds, so the glue and paint stick better to the plastic parts. Now, let's actually start with the assembly. And here's the cockpit all assembled. Not much to be seen here, to be honest. I'll now go ahead and continue. And here's the progress so far. I assembled some more parts for the fuselage halves. To be honest, it doesn't seem like much work, but it took me a while to sand down the parts where they were connected to the sprue. Now let's continue. Here's what I've done so far. I assembled the wings, tail and some more stuff. Now, before I go glue the fuselage halves together, I'm gonna go paint the cockpit. Now, for painting the cockpit, I'll be using Vallejo's 71.311 green and this thinner. Let's go airbrush. Here's the cockpit all airbrushed, nothing special to be honest. Now I'll go brush paint some details. And here's the cockpit all brush painted. Nothing too crazy, I've just brought some details to life. Now I'll go continue with the assembly. And the assembly is now fully complete. I've also masked the canopy off camera, but honestly it wasn't too complicated for a nice change. I've had no issues with the assembly, just took a little while. Now let's go put the primer on the MiG. This is the primer I'll be using. And here's the model with the primer applied. Now I'll be using Tamiya's X11 Chrome Silver to paint the whole model. After a while, the model is all painted as well as the stand. My battery ran out, so I didn't record me airbrushing the green details as well as the gunmetal on the exhaust. Now I'll go apply a clear coat to ready the model for the decals. And here's the model all ready for the decals. In the meantime, I also put a layer of clear satin varnish onto the missiles. I'll be using these products while applying the decals. A little disclaimer, as you'll see, I had a tough time with these. I don't know if it was my error, but the decals seemed to be quite thick and they didn't want to conform to the shapes properly, so this took me quite a while. Now, while placing the decals and gluing the missiles, I got an idea to make it look like one of the missiles is being launched, so I'll try to install it. And here it is, a fully completed MiG-21bis of the Yugoslav Air Force in the 1/72 scale. The kit itself went together with no issues, everything aligned with no problem except for the covers for the front landing gear legs, so pay attention to it. Now regarding the decals, I had issues with them. Maybe I didn't know how to handle them, but I think they were on the thicker side, so they didn't want to sit properly on the tail because it isn't completely flat. So, what do you guys think? Did my model end up looking well? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And be sure to like and subscribe. I'll leave you with some close-ups of the completed model. And of course, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Družkaco svakati čas na makiti domovinu si učinio ponosnom, da usput ne zaboravi nikad, studenti su uvek upravu ko 68. Nemojte pokolebati. Izvinjavam se što ovako zvučim, nisam pričao posljednjih 45 godina. Dej pusti neki banger u pozadinu dok pokazuješ maketu. Živio!
Oh wow, that was really unexpected. Hvala vam druže Tito. And of course, students are always right. Support the students and student protest in Serbia. Spread the word. Cheers!